2/3 of Minnesota's social equity cannabis license applicants have been denied for failing to meet documentation requirements for engaging in improper practices, according to the Office of Cannabis Management. Officials say the first license lottery is now expected to take place the week of December 2nd. Of the 1,817 applicants, only about 640 will advance to the lottery for one of the 280 pre-approval licenses. Many of those denied failed to meet qualifying standards, neglected to provide key documentation, or ran afoul of regulations designed to protect the integrity of the process. Interim Director Charlene Briner emphasized that the readiness to navigate this highly regulated industry begins with submitting a successful application. It does. State officials flagged predatory behavior among some applicants, including attempts to flood the system with multiple submissions or hide true investors behind deceptive business structures. Some bad actors used identical business plans, unregistered domain names, and fake contact information. Briner said, "We saw people trying to game the system to improve their chances, but we are committed to ensuring the applicants in the lottery meet the letter and spirit of the law." There have also been reports of out-of-state investors recruiting individuals to act as front applicants in exchange for financial payoffs. Briner noted this not only violates Minnesota law, but also undermines the program's goal of empowering communities harmed by past cannabis policies. Enforcement actions are being explored against these violators, including potential disqualifications from future licensing. For the roughly 640 applicants moving forward, the odds of winning a license just improved significantly, but Briner cautioned that final approval is not guaranteed until additional vetting is complete. Letters of acceptance or denial are expected within 2 weeks, with the lottery following shortly thereafter. Minnesota's cannabis program prioritizes social equity, aiming to provide opportunities for groups and neighborhoods disproportionately affected by cannabis criminalization. Pre-approval licenses are designed to give successful applicants a head start in preparing for the legal market, which is expected to open this spring. For cultivators and other growers, this means getting seeds in the ground sooner to ensure supply meets demand when sales begin. Rejected applicants have 7 days to request a review of their records, but state law does not allow appeals or hearings for those denied entry to the lottery. Briner called this moment an inflection point as the state moves closer to launching a highly regulated and equitable cannabis market. So shout out to Minnesota. This is the first large mass-scale denial before the lottery goes through, before licenses are awarded to these pariahs and these people who are calling and dialing for dollars and saying, "Hey, do you want to be my applicant? You live in this zip code. Do you know that you can have a social equity license?" And I just love to see it. Honestly, it violates Minnesota law. I'd love to see some of these guys be prosecuted finally, because it's ridiculous and it's disgusting when you look and see how many predatory investors there are, some of these groups are minority-run groups as well. Like, it's easy to say, hey, I expected this white guy in the suit to try and take advantage of me, but it's really confusing when you see people of color coming in and claiming community and claiming generational wealth and claiming, we're together, blah, 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 blah. The same things are happening. So pay attention to what groups those are. Pay attention to what groups are kind of hosting some of these events so they can make sure that they get your criminal records. And if you have to give them your proof of criminal records before you can attend an info session, that's probably questionable. They're banking your information so that they can come in and try and swoop these licenses on your behalf. So I love this. I'm actually really proud of Minnesota. Good job of actually regulating the regulations that you set forth. So I'll throw it back to you guys. I'm sure I'll have more to throw in there, but I love to see it.
Big ups to Tim Walz doing the right thing.
I mean, is this Tim Walz? I think this is just their Attorney General's office that's doing this, right?
It was yeah. No, it has nothing to do with Tim Walz. It's the Office of Cannabis Management. Rico, don't start that shit, because this is an important story that we actually need to dig into.
Yeah, Rico.
I cover lots of important stories we need to dig into that you don't even read. So I'm gonna grab my jab.
It's your job to read them, Rico.
I'm gonna add a little levity to it.
Moving right forward. That wasn't levity. That was distraction.
Full disclosure. I mean, full disclosure is necessary. I've represented a number of social equity applicants, and the vultures hanging around who have these back alley agreements, who try to stay off the radar. I've negotiated deals for someone to be paid upwards of $500,000 to allow them to be used to get these licenses. Okay? And others where the disclosure is only required to a certain point, and beyond that, that's where the money and control is. And these people have lost their ass because the government didn't know who was actually behind this. So I encourage full disclosure. And if you're not supposed to be involved in these projects by law, you should not be allowed to be involved in them. And there's more than a couple of people in this state who don't like me very much because I pulled their pants down as using straw men to try and run these businesses when they're not supposed to. So for me, if you qualify for social equity, you should be the one that benefits. You and your progeny should be the one that benefits from this project, and not wait till everybody else gets paid double, 2, 3x on their investment and all this other shit before you see a nickel. That's just wrong, and it should be stopped.
I totally agree.
Dale, can I come work for you? Because that's kind of what I spent most of my day doing, is fixing social equity contracts. Licensing them up.
What little hair I have left, I pull out. Because I want to smack people sometimes, but you really can't. You've got to go through the system, and they hide from the system, and the system isn't looking for them very well.
I'm sure
it's very frustrating. I can see them.
I'm sure
they're not looking for them at all.
I'm sure Jenny Beth would catch an assault charge for you, Dale.
I will. I'll take the charge, and then Omar can defend me. But I've had very direct conversations with the DCR, throwing them documents saying, hey, this guy was sanctioned by the SEC. He's not supposed to be selling shit. He's not supposed to be doing shit. This is the control person. Why are you talking to an email address that simply signed corporate services? What the fuck? Who is corporate services, and how are they able to speak on our record? This is supposed to be private information. So you've also breached my information. Like, you've done so many things to egregiously cover your ass because you know what you did, and you don't give a shit. Sorry, Omar, I saw you trying to get in there. I'll shut up.
Go ahead, Omar.
I agree with what you're saying. I'm glad Minnesota is doing fraud checks to look for like these bogus lottery applicants. And I think it's something that's been exploited in other jurisdictions. And I'm glad that Minnesota is hip to it and screening for it, and should aggressively disqualify anybody who's involved in submitting multiple applications. It's simply not fair, and it's something that ought to be disqualifying. Taking spots away from social equity applicants who suffered to have that designation is the lowest kind of low. If you're going to be stealing money from people, go steal it from wealthy investors, not social equity applicants. And, don't steal it all. But if you're going to be stealing, be Robin Hood.
Yeah. And I would like to add to that. Like, big shout out to Minnesota for getting ahead of the curve and being maybe the first in the nation to actually learn from other markets as they put their shit together, getting ahead of those Jensens, those damn Jensens.
Oh boy, I see what you did there. That is pretty good. You have anything to say on this, Soham?
I was intentionally not trying to provide too much because I was a part of assisting with probably 5 or 7 different applications as a part of the social equity. I will say that the groups that I was a part of, everything was disclosed, and we were very careful not to violate any of the equity caps for any individual or group. But nonetheless, I am happy to see the state of Minnesota crack down on fraudulent applications, and it makes me a little bit nervous, but again, I don't think that we did anything wrong, so I'm curious to see what that first round of lottery applications looks like in December. But good luck to everybody that applied to Minnesota.
I want to dig in and ask questions. I'm not going to do that, Soham.
All right, well, fair enough.
When you said it makes you nervous, I had questions. I'm going to shut up, though.
The way that they phrased it about detecting people that might have been helping with multiple applications is the part that makes me nervous, but as far as disclosure of equity interest, anything like that, like everything on that side was above board. So I guess I'm just nervous about how they analyze the applications to try and find overlap and see if other people might have gotten caught in that weren't actually violating the law. But again, as a matter of principle, I'm very happy to see the state of Minnesota cracking down on people taking advantage of social equity applicants.
Fair enough. And on that, we're going to roll into our next commercial, and we're going to be right back.